for a Nittany Lion bullpen that has used a fair share of pitchers this weekend. Butash's first pitch is over for strike one here against Braden Martin. We mentioned it. Braden Martin, just his second home run of the season, came in the 11th inning yesterday. It was his 7th plate appearance of the contest, reached base 4 times yesterday, and that home run served as the go-ahead run for Maryland to secure their first series win of the season. The 1-1 here from Butash, it's fouled off, and the count is 1-2.
Penn State used 7 pitchers yesterday in the 12-11 Maryland victory. So Mason Butash is the guy that did go 4 2/3 against a top 20 West Virginia team a couple weeks ago in front of a record-breaking Dog Night crowd from Miller Field at Lebrano Park. So he's going to have to replicate that kind of performance to give this bullpen much better position.
The 1-2, that one. Line to third, it's scooped up by Molinaro. The throw a bit low, but Jakonski scoops it up in time for out number 1. And now we take a look at the Penn State defense. You see the corner infielders, Bryce Molinaro and Joe Jakonski. The middle of the infield is Ryan Weingartner at short, Derek Cease at second base. Left to right across the outfield, it's Jesse Jakonski. Cohl Mercado slots in at center, and Jack Porter is in right. Nate Voss doing the catching today for Mason Butash.
That was kind of an in-between play for Bryce Molinaro over at third. Was kind of unsure whether he wanted to take that one right out of the air, but fields on a short hop, and with how wet the ground has been, some of those throws across the diamond can be a little bit tricky, but it could work by Jakonski over at first just to pick it out of the dirt.
Chris Hakopian to the plate. 6 for 7 yesterday with 6 singles as the count moves to 2-0. It was the first 6-hit game for a Terrapin since 2020. It tied a school record with Chris Aline. Set it against Bryant. The 2-0 misses outside, and it was the first time a Big Ten player had done it at all in a conference game since the Nittany Lions had it done for them just a couple years ago. .3-0 here from Butash. That one right down College Avenue, and the count is 3-1.
You talk about what Chris Hakopian did yesterday, Justin. As you talked about, 6 for 7, 6 singles. First player with 6 hits in a Big Ten game since Jay Harry in 2022.
Harry currently in the Double-A system of the Blue Jays as Hakopian lays off that pitch despite the appeal down to first. So it's a 1-out walk here from Mason Butash. And a base runner on early for Maryland. Maryland has taken the lead in the first inning in both contests this weekend. It was a 3-run first inning back on Friday. Single from Martin, a 2-run home run from Chris Hakopian, and a solo home run from Eddie Hakopian, who's to the plate now. And yesterday it was a 2-run triple off the bat of Jacob Orr that gave Maryland the early lead. Eddie Hakopian takes a first pitch down low. 4-hit performance for him yesterday. 4 for 7 from the 3-hole spot. 1-0 in there. Fastball at 92 from Butash.
Butash went with the first pitch breaking ball. He struggled to locate that breaking ball early in counts so far. Now through the first 3 hitters that he's faced.
1 ball, 1 strike. 1 out and a runner on. And that pitch curves down just enough to catch the top of the zone for strike 2. The 1-2 from Butash. Just misses. 94 that time on the fastball from the sophomore righty out of Virginia. Talked about that start last week, back on Tuesday against West Virginia. Penn State upset the number 17 team in the country. Pitch fouled off, and Eddie Hakopian loses his bat in the process.
Yeah, it's been raining on and off throughout the course of the weekend. Penn State hoping to be able to get this game in, as there's some rain in the forecast that could be rolling in later this afternoon. So take another look at that swing from Eddie Hakopian as his bat just flies out of his hands in the follow-through. But Mason Butash, low 90s fastball, goes with the breaking ball that sits low 80s, high 70s at times.
Did appear against UCLA in the 9-1 loss last week, back on Saturday for Penn State. Went 2 innings, allowed 3 earned runs. Series got a strikeout as Hakopian swings and misses. And Mason Butash with his first K of the ball game.
There's the breaking ball for Mason Butash. Got lucky a little bit. That pitch hung in the upper third of the zone. That's typically a dangerous spot, especially pitching to Eddie Hakopian. But gets away with it that time to strike out a guy that has not been retired by Penn State much this weekend, Justin.
No, he is not. And it brings up Hollis Porter, who had been retired by the Nittany Lions for much of the weekend until a 2-run home run in the top of the 10th inning yesterday. Gave Maryland the 2-run advantage. It was an 11-9 lead that Penn State was able to come back and tie up on a home run by Jack Porter. No relation between the two. But Hollis Porter, second in the Big Ten with 19 home runs. 58 runs batted in, and it was a no-doubter to right field yesterday as the 1-0 chases one out of the zone, and the count evens at 1-1. So Hakopian still leads off of first after a 1-out walk. Maryland leading the conference in base on balls this season. 1-1 from Butash. Fastball can't get over, and the count is 2-1. Hakopian, no stolen bases over at first. So Butash did throw over once, but not paying much attention to the shortstop for the Terrapins. 2-1 here. That one fouled back. And the count is 2-2. Good looking off speed that time for Mason Butash.
He's been able to locate the breaking ball much better over the last 2 hitters than he did the first 2. And obviously this is a Maryland team, as you talked about, Justin. Elite plate discipline, pitch selection. These guys do not chase very often outside of Hollis Porter.
2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs here in the top of the first inning. Game 3 of a 3-game set. Maryland going for the sweep as the 2-2 is fouled away, so they do it again. Mentioned Hollis Porter, second in the conference in home runs, but his strikeout number is first in the conference at 66. So do the 2-2 again. Butash looking for another K. Hakopian takes off. It's a ball, and the throw is not in time from Nate Voss behind the plate. So it's the first stolen base of the sophomore year for Chris Hakopian, and the count moves full against Hollis Porter.
We take a look at it here. Mason Butash had a long pause on the mound as the throw from Nate Voss is high, but a good jump from Chris Hakopian over at first for his first stolen base of the season.
So now in scoring position. Payoff pitch. That one belted deep right field, and that baby is out of here. It's a 2-run home run for Hollis Porter, his second of the series, 20th of the season. And Maryland has a first inning lead for the 3rd straight time this weekend.
There's the lethal power off the bat of Hollis Porter. Gets a hanging little breaking ball for Mason Butash and deposits it right in the same kind of area that he did in the extra inning performance last night. There's the breaking ball from Butash. It hangs up. It's a really good swing from Hollis Porter. Now one of just 2 players in the entire conference that has 20 or more home runs, and that's the 20th of the season for Hollis Porter, chasing down Oregon's Mason Neville for the home run lead in the Big Ten.
First pitch to Jacob Orr, who's had a really good series, misses low and out. That home run from Hollis Porter registered 414 feet, 105 miles per hour off the bat, and he knew it. Same location there on another miss from Butash. Or yesterday, 3 for 6. Finished a home run shy of the cycle after finishing a triple shy of it back on Friday. This one lifted right field. Porter towards the line in foul territory. He's got it for out number 3, but not before the Terrapins could take a 2-0 lead off the bat of Hollis Porter. His 20th home run of the season, travels 414 feet, and by the time he touches home plate, it's a 2-run lead for Maryland. We head to the bottom of the first. Penn State coming to bat here on Big Ten Plus. Rather on Friday, and then 4 innings. Joey McManus did allow 5 earned, but really got through those 4 for Maryland, as this one lofted into right is caught out there by Elijah Lambros. 1 pitch, 1 out for Melendez, and we set up the Maryland defense for you. You saw Lambros out and right. Hill is in center, and Jacob Orr moves to left field. Third to first across the diamond, it's Martin, Chris Hakopian, Parker Corbin, and Eddie Hakopian. Then it's Alex Calarco doing the catching yet again for the Terrapins. Catching Omar Melendez, the senior lefty out of Puerto Rico. Deals his second pitch, and that one misses to Paxton Kling. Talk about Kling moving to the designated hitting spot today. Took an awkward swing on Friday, battled through it, and stayed in the contest. Yesterday was hit by a pitch high in the arm. Banged up, stayed in, but then later in the game took another awkward swing, and it was something with what appeared to be his left leg. Lead leg in his stance, as the count is now 2-1 to Kling. So they move him into designated hitter spot, making it so he doesn't have to roam the large outfield here at Medler Field at Lebrano Park. 2-1, lifted out to right. Lambros towards the line, and he's got it for out number 2. So 2 outs, and Elijah Lambros has been on the receiving end of both of them.
Yeah, you can see the grimace from Paxton Kling right after the swing. It's definitely an issue with that lead leg. And as you talked about, Justin, he was removed in last night's game, or yesterday's game rather, out of center field as Cohl Mercado came in to play the late innings in center field. His spot came up in the lineup in a big spot yesterday, where Cohl Mercado was up. But Penn State, this is a guy that they need him in the lineup. They need his bat. He's one of the best players, not only in the conference, but the entire country, can safely say that.
1-0, little half swing goes to third. Martin up with it. That throw off line, and it's an E5 for Braden Martin. Jack Porter reaches to keep the inning going.
Yeah, some difficult throws with how wet the ground has been. Any of these ground balls to any of these infielders could potentially be a challenge, because once the ball comes out of the glove and gets into that throwing hand, it can be difficult with how wet the baseball is to get a good grip on it and make a strong throw over to first. And that time, that throw just gets away from Martin.
Maryland had 3 errors back on Friday. Didn't record one yesterday. Jack Porter reaches here to keep the inning alive. Calarco keeps this ball in front of him, so Porter stays put at first. Just to finish the point on keeping Kling in the lineup, Penn State's already lost Cole Wagner for an extended period of time. If you lose Kling with them, a lot of offensive production out for Penn State. Bryce Molinaro here, 11 home runs and a team-leading 52 runs batted in. As a check over on Porter, who's got 6 stolen bases on the season, he scampers back in. Molinaro's 11th home run of the season came in the 7th inning yesterday to tie up the ball game. Penn State would take the lead in the 8th, and they would blow it in the top of the 9th. 1-0. That one drilled on a line into left field. A 2-out single for Bryce Molinaro. And Penn State with back-to-back base runners here with 2 outs.
Molinaro's timing has been significantly better over the course of this weekend series. He's been able to get the front leg down quick, get the hands through the zone, and that time that baseball was absolutely barreled through the left side of the infield. And you can tell when his swing is on, he's generating tons of hard contact. His swing speed has looked really good over the course of the last 2 games plus now.
Penn State has a runner in scoring position. They went 3 for 15 yesterday with runners in scoring position. following up a not too great Friday either, going 1 for 11 when they had runners in scoring position. So Penn State looking to come through here. It's Jesse Jakonski who takes a first pitch strike. Jakonski batting .300, 10 homers, 46 driven in, and he drives this one in to left field. They're going to send Porter around third. Here comes the throw from Orr. It's going to be late. Porter scores. Jakonski running to second. He'll get in. It's an RBI single for Jesse Jakonski, and Penn State has a run back here in the bottom of the first.
Another hard hit ball to the left side of the infield. This time it's off the bat of Jesse Jakonski, who after struggling last night able to pick up an RBI here, and Penn State is able to cut into the deficit. You see Porter rounding third, a strong throw from the left fielder Jacob Orr. Has been all around the infield and the outfield defensively for Maryland this weekend, but heads up base running from Jesse Jakonski and Bryce Molinaro to take an extra 90 feet as the baseball scampered away from Alex Calarco behind home plate.
Now Joe Jakonski steps in with 2 runners in scoring position. First pitch, swing and a miss. 86 that time on the fastball from Melendez. So Melendez gets through the first 2 outs of the inning. The E5 from Braden Martin keeps the inning alive for Penn State. Bryce Molinaro singles at 106 miles per hour. And then a single from Jesse Jakonski puts a run on the board for Penn State. Now the count 0-2 as Joe Jakonski continues, or attempts to continue to keep the line moving for Penn State. Nittany Lions scored 3 with 2 outs in the 4th inning yesterday. It was really all the 2-out damage they were able to do. The 0-2, that one on a line to second. Corbin goes down and gets it for out number 3. But not before Penn State could score a run on 2 hits. 1 error in the inning. They strand 2 in scoring position. We head to the second. It's 2-1 here at Medler Field at Lebrano Park.
Due to time constraints, we now move ahead in the action.
Lead off this bottom half of the 4th inning. Omar Melendez still out on the bump for the Maryland Terrapins in his 4th inning of work. He's now thrown just 40 pitches, so keeping that pitch count low has Melendez successfully over the course of this outing. Penn State has now posted 3 consecutive Maryland zeros over the last 3 frames, as both starters, for the most part, able to settle in after a hectic first frame as Maryland posted 2 in the top of the first. Penn State scratched across a run in that inning. It was Jesse Jakonski who was able to bring home that run in that bottom half of the first with an RBI single. Jesse picking up his 47th run batted in of the season. Melendez kicks and fires a 2-1 to Jesse Jakonski, and for a called strike. An effective breaking ball from Melendez evens the count at 2-2. Jakonski hitting .304 with a .380 on base percentage, slugging .578. Omar Melendez kicks and fires a 2-2. It's right back at us. Oh, I thought Justin had a chance at it. Hits the facade right in front of us. But the disappointment on Justin's face, if you could see it, that was a kid on Christmas getting his favorite toy taken away.
It was a little low, and I wasn't going to go reaching.
As this one's hit hard right side, going over to make the play is Corbin deep into the hole, makes a strong throw to Eddie Hakopian over at first, and Omar Melendez has really settled in for the Terrapins on the mound. Gets a quick first out to retire Jesse Jakonski.
I mean, you go back to the only blemish for Omar Melendez to this point. It's an unearned run because of a Braden Martin error that kept the first inning alive. And sure, Melendez let up the 2 singles after that, but if the error never happens and that's a routine play to third, he gets out of that inning and you don't know what happens the rest of the way. Melendez has really settled into a rhythm here. He's doing it by attacking these hitters early as he gets the first pitch strike there to Joe Jakonski.
Melendez, an accomplished pitcher over the course of his career, competed in the U23 Baseball World Cup in September for Puerto Rico, earning a silver medal, which is the best finish in Puerto Rico history. Had 3 appearances in that Baseball World Cup, working a 3.94 ERA. Joe Jaconski stands in, chops this one right side over to Corbin. Fields it on a hop throw. This gets away from Corbin. Eddie Hakopian calling for it so he can tag Joe Jaconski. He'll just step on the base. But he does not tag Joe Jaconski as Jaconski stays on the right side of the foul line. But what looked to be a routine play from Corbin, you see him have some difficulty getting that baseball out of his glove and into his throwing hand. And as we talked about, that grass is very wet as a result of the rain that's been falling pretty consistently. It's been a very light drizzle over the past 15 to 20 minutes or so. But that's going to go in the book as an E4 against Patrick Corbin, the freshman.
First error of his career.
So Joe Jaconski reaches with 1 out here in the bottom of the 4th via the error by Patrick Corbin. Corbin getting the start today, his first start in this weekend series. He had some pinch hit appearances on both Friday and Saturday. As this one is off the end of the bat by Voss. Corbin going out, it's going to fall. Corbin almost trips in shallow right center field. But Nate Voss picks up his first hit of the game, and now it's runners on first and second for Penn State with 1 out.
That one just tipped perfectly by Voss. Obviously not the intent to get it right there, but you fall it in front of Lambros and behind Corbin. No chance really for either of them to come in and get that. And now you look at a situation similar to the first inning where an error, now it wouldn't have ended the inning, but would have made 2 outs and nobody on. Instead, that error makes it 1 out, a runner on, and now a single. Just a little blooper, and all of a sudden Penn State's in business here against Melendez.
First pitch to Cease gets him to swing through. Good breaking ball from Melendez. 2 errors already for the Terrapins. Here in the bottom of the 4th is Derek Cease coming off a strong 4 for 5 performance yesterday. Looking to pick up where he left off. Jaconski taking off. This one's hit right side. It's going to get through for a base hit. Joe Jaconski, he's around third. He will score easily. Nate Voss gets the stop sign from his third base coach over at third. And the hit and run works to perfection for Penn State as Derek Cease, with his 5th hit in the last 2 games, comes up big and equals this one at 2 here in the bottom of the 4th.
I mean, it's been one of the biggest storylines of the weekend in terms of the Penn State lineup. This is a guy in Derek Cease, started his freshman year, hadn't seen much consistent starting time until this weekend. And he has been able to provide. I mean, he had 1 start this season coming into this series. He started all 3 games. He had a double back on Friday. Also 2 walks thrown in there. And then yesterday, a big day at the plate from the 9-hole, having 4 hits and a walk there. And after striking out in his first plate appearance this time around, he gets the single to go the other side in a perfectly executed hit and run from Penn State. And that run comes across as unearned, as that was off the Parker Corbin, error.
So Penn State with runners on the corner, still with 1 out here in the 4th. Already a run across on the RBI single from Derek Cease. As Penn State potentially put on a squeeze play. As Nate Voss is the runner over at third, Derek Cease the runner at first. And with Cohl Mercado's speed and his bat control, could potentially see another interesting play on from Penn State. Braden Martin well in on the infield, grass over at third. As Melendez will step off and throw over towards first base to check on Cease. The middle infielders of Chris Hakopian and Parker Corbin. In traditional double play depth, Hakopian shaded more towards the second base bag. Now a couple steps to his right, deeper towards the hole. Mercado stands in as the 1-0 does not come yet. Another throw over from Melendez. Mercado came in as a defensive replacement to relieve Paxton Kling in yesterday's game in the late innings. Mercado did get an at-bat late in that game. Had an 0-for-1 day. Swing around to bunt again, gets the bunt down. It's a squeeze play. Coming home is Voss. It's a flip out of the glove by Melendez. The runner is out. What a flip by Omar Melendez out of the glove. the call. And Nate Voss is out at home. So an impressive flip out of the glove by Omar Melendez as he had to come streaming off the mound to make that play. But a great flip right to Alex Calarco, who's able to get the tag down around the groin area of Nate Voss, right below the belt.
That's the one place, if you're Mercado, you don't want that bunt going. You want to make the pitcher here in Melendez either go to that first base side or that third base side a little bit more than he had to. Nittany Lions still have 2 on, but now 2 outs and no lead.
As Weingartner stands in, this ball is hit well, deep left center field, tracking back or in the left center field gap, going back. It's going to one-hop the wall. 1 run is in. Flying around third comes Cohl Mercado. He's in to score. And it's a bases clearing 2-run double for Ryan Weingartner. Penn State takes its first lead today, and the Nittany Lions have 3 in the 4th. They lead it 4-2 on a 2-run double from Ryan Weingartner. And he's got his now 39th multi-RBI game of his career.
Just an impressive swing that time from Weingartner. Looked like there was a chance for it to carry out, but he hit one of the deepest parts of the ballpark. Traveled 383 feet, 105 off the bat. Weingartner with yet another double, mark at 14 now on the season for Penn State shortstop.
As Penn State with 3 runs here already in the bottom of the 4th, and the chance for more with Paxton Kling up at the plate. As Penn State is scratched across 3. Part of that bases clearing double from Ryan Weingartner that brought home Cohl Mercado and Derek Cease. As Melendez, all 4 of these runs against him have gone in the book unearned. As you think back to Penn State making this Maryland defense pay with their errors, as the error from Corbin over at second allowed Joe Jakonski to reach. With 1 out in this inning, as Nate Voss was retired at home for the 2nd out. Kling stands in ahead of the count 3-0, does not get the green light, and this pitch is outside for ball 4. So Paxton Kling is aboard with a 4-pitch walk, as Jack Porter will stride to the plate with 2 men on and 2 men out.
I think Paxton Kling was a little surprised by that call right there, just missed. But Kling on base for the 2nd time. The Nittany Lions continuing to try to extend their lead. Again, didn't take a lead till late yesterday. It was their first lead of the series.
2 men on, 2 men out for Jack Porter, as this one is skied to straightaway center field. Shallow center field, late start from Aiden Hill, and center going out is Eddie Hakopian, but making the catch is the 2nd baseman, Corbin. So Corbin makes up for his error earlier in the inning with an impressive catch in shallow center field to retire the side and strand a pair for Penn State. But the Nittany Lions get the damage done as they will take a 4-2 lead to the top of the 5th when we return from Medler Field at Lebrano Park. Martin entered today 8 for 19, and now 8 for 20 in his career against the Nittany Lions, went 4 for 11 in the series last season, and his first career home run against Penn State a season ago. It's the 1-0 from Van Ostenbridge, a slow and loopy breaking ball at 69 miles per hour, in for a called strike.
And after his 50th walk of the season back in the 3rd, it's now 23 consecutive games that Braden Martin has reached base, and it's not even his most impressive streak. He had a 28-game on-base streak that snapped in the Northwestern Series a couple weeks ago for Maryland. So just picking up where he's leaving off, and obviously that 28-game streak dated back to the prior season. But Braden Martin has been a staple here for Maryland, and he's ahead 3-1 here, looking for his 51st walk of the season.
Martin, one of 5 players in the entire country with 50 or more walks, is now 5th in the country in walks as the 3-1 in for a called strike.
Now his 26 walks in conference play. Maryland has played 23 conference games, this being their 24th. So over a walk a game.
It's 3-2 to Martin. That'll miss outside. That's walk 51. And now Martin is tied for third in the country with walks. He's got 2 today. He's now tied with projected first-round draft choice Luke Stevenson, the catcher from North Carolina. So Braden Martin, the leadoff hitter, as he's done all season long, has set the stage for Chris Hacopian, as his brother Eddie Hacopian will stride to the on-deck circle. This is the top half of the Maryland lineup that can do damage with some of the best in the country, as throw deck down to first. Swipe tag from Jakonski, but Martin gets back in safely. 6 stolen bases on the season. He's 6 for 8 is Braden Martin.
Martin was picked off back in that 3rd inning. That one went to review.
1-0 from Matthew Van Ostenbridge, a breaking ball in for a call strike to Chris Hacopian.
Chris Hacopian struck out against Matt Van Ostenbridge in his only at-bat against him back on Friday.
1-1 to Hacopian down low. Move the count to 2-1. Hacopian walked back in the first, came around to score, flew out to Cohl Mercado back in the 3rd.
I think it says a lot about the confidence of Van Ostenbridge. He's willing to throw any pitch to any of these guys. As his off-speed pitch that time misses in for ball 3, but showed basically the entire repertoire against Braden Martin, doing so here against Chris Hacopian. He's not afraid to make these guys hit the ball. Martin laid off enough to get that walk. Hacopian might do the same.
3-1 from Van Ostenbridge, breaking ball. That'll miss outside. That Penn State has been on since the season or series finale back against Purdue.
So a lot of off-speed pitches here from Van Ostenbridge. Really hasn't gone to the fastball too often, and fastball's been his best pitch in this outing, getting him a couple of strikes against both the first 2 he's faced. Between the rain, as there is the fastball, and as well as the fact that Van Ostenbridge is coming off of 55 pitches back on Friday. That one pitch that you know is going to be reliable is that fastball.
2 men on, no one out. And squaring around to bunt, it's a beauty from Eddie Hacopian. Barehand throw from Molinaro makes a play. A difficult play from Bryce Molinaro considering the wet grass on the infield. But a stellar defensive play from Bryce Molinaro as you get a look at it. Eddie Hacopian has squared around to bunt a number of times. He had a bunt base hit back on Friday as his bunt got by the mound as Ben DeMel had no play on it. But that's one of those alpha at-bats that Maryland talks about extensively as part of one of the pillars of their program.
You put 2 in scoring position while you're trailing by 2. You got 4 and 5 due up in your order, and they're 3 for 4 today, including a 2-run home run by the guy to the plate now. It's just a good job by Eddie Hacopian to do what he's told, execute it perfectly, and have the Terrapins in position to tie and potentially take the lead.
So Maryland takes the bat out of Eddie Hacopian's hands, who went 4 for 7 yesterday with 4 runs batted in, but he'll gladly make that sacrifice to set up Porter, who's got 20 home runs in the season. As Porter chops this one foul, and Van Ostenbridge is up ahead in this left-on-left matchup, 0-2.
Yeah, and this is where you expect Van Ostenbridge to stick with the off-speed. We talked about the chase rate here for Hollis Porter, his high strikeout number leading the Big Ten. You expect that Van Ostenbridge in the lefty-lefty matchup looks for something towards that right-handed batter's box to get the strikeout and strand the runners.
Van Ostenbridge gets Porter to reach at the 0-2 breaking ball, as this one will reach the seats. But got to remember that Porter's 2-run home run in the top half of the first did come against a breaking ball issued by Mason Butash.
And that one just left nowhere near where Van Ostenbridge likely wanted it. Looked like he was going for that idea of the chase pitch to the right-handed batter's box, but just didn't get the break, couldn't get the grip.
2 runners in scoring position for one of the most lethal hitters in the country. As 0-2 breaking ball from Van Ostenbridge, that'll miss outside. To give you the final line on Mason Butash, went 3 2/3, 4 hits, 2 runs, both of which earned, 2 walks to go along with 3 strikeouts. But a big spot to this point in this game. The 1-2, excuse me, swing, he goes around. Called by home plate umpire Buzz Albert. Nate Voss signaled down to Kyle Reese over at third, but nonetheless, it's going to go down as a strikeout as Matthew Van Ostenbridge gets Hollis Porter to swing through a 1-2 breaking ball as Mike Gambino is going to head out to the mound to take the ball for Matthew Van Ostenbridge. 29 hits, 13 runs, 8 of which are earned to just 15 walks. And inherits runners over at second and third with Jacob Orr, a guy that has been spectacular for Maryland this weekend series, up at the dish. There's Jacob Orr today, who got back in the first, singled back in the top half of the fourth, but was stranded at second. It's 1-0 chop left side, right to Ryan Weingartner, who throws on to first, and Anthony Steele gets out of it. Maryland strands a pair in scoring position, and for the fourth straight away frame, Penn State has posted a 0, and they will take a 4-2 lead to the bottom half of the fifth inning. We return after the hot dog race here on Big Ten Plus.
Due to time constraints, we now move ahead in the action.
The longest active win streak of any Division I team. So Rutgers, with 4 straight wins, will head into next week red hot against Penn State, who are looking to get back on track and erase a 6-game conference losing streak. Penn State dropped the last game of the series to Purdue and was swept by UCLA on the road, and has dropped the first 2 to Maryland as a 4-pitch walk to Joe Jakonski. We'll have him aboard with a 2-out walk here in the bottom of the fifth. Some missed opportunities for Maryland over the course of this game. The Terrapins left the bases loaded in the top of the fourth as Matthew Van Ostenbridge was able to induce an inning-ending ground out that retired Parker Corbin, I should say. I keep trying to say Patrick Corbin, thinking of longtime national starting pitcher. As Maryland in the top half of the fifth, stranded runners at second and third. So some missed opportunities for this Terrapins team, who are hitting 2 for 10 with runners on base. Meanwhile, Penn State is hitting 5 for 10 with runners on base. And a slew of Maryland relievers are trotting down to that bullpen that's down at left field corner. Penn State hitting 3 for 8 at .375 with 2 outs. And it brings up Nate Voss, who singled and was stranded at third back in the fourth. Melendez will check on Joe Jakonski over at first base. Nate Voss yesterday, coming off 5 RBIs, I should say, on Wednesday against Ryder, having his first 3-hit performance in a Penn State uniform. Joe Jakonski is off. Throw down to second is late. Joe Jakonski is able to stay on the bag. And Joe Jakonski has reached double-digit steals. He's got 10 on the season, joining Ryan Weingartner and Paxton Kling, who also have double-digit stolen bases. Cole Wagner also reached double digits before his injury has sidelined him over the last couple of weeks.
96 stolen base of the season for Penn State. Program record.
As this ball is belted deep left field, going back to the track wall, and this one is going to hit off the wall. Jakonski is in to score. Voss is digging for third. Picking it up out of the grasses, or the throw is late. And Nate Voss will have an RBI triple with 2 outs here in the bottom of the fifth. And Penn State, for back-to-back innings, has scratched across a run. And Nate Voss stays red hot over the course of this week, as we talked about. 5 RBIs on Wednesday, 3 hits yesterday, and comes up clutch with a ball that I thought was going to get out off the bat, but it hangs up. The wind blowing in from left field today as that baseball was scolded off the wall in left field, as Jacob Orr had to pick that one up out of the grass, but it's going to be an RBI triple from Nate Voss, and Penn State extends its lead to 5-2.
Yeah, Penn State carom off that wall out in left field. Voss' second triple of the season. The play was right in front of him. He made that read turning around second base. No help from his third base coach. Was going all the way and pays dividends as he's 90 feet away. You never know about the passed ball, the wild pitch combination that could allow that runner to come through. So the extra 90, good hustle, good heads-up play that time from Voss, a catcher that we've talked about, has some speed. Penn State has 3 catchers with a decent bit of speed themselves.
3 athletic catchers between Matt Maloney, Joey DiMucci, and Nate Voss as Derek Cease fouls this one into the sweets. Cease 4 for 5 yesterday, his first 4-hit game of his 4-year Penn State career, hitting .500 on the season and 22 at-bats. He's got 11 hits. Had an RBI single back in the 3-run bottom of the 4th for Penn State. This one's back up the middle. It's going to get through for an RBI base hit. Derek Cease comes through, and for the second time in as many at-bats, he's got an RBI single. Derek Cease, the storyline of the weekend for Penn State, making just his 4th start in his senior season. He has been nothing short of spectacular for the Nittany Lions. And Penn State's got 2 in the bottom of the 5th. They extend their lead to 6-2.
7-hit weekend now for Derek Cease. And you talked.
He's joined Nate Voss as only 2 players for Penn State this weekend, or today I should say, that have multiple hits. Voss and Cease combined 4 for 6 now. Cease is off on first move. He's caught in a rundown, throw down to second, and Cease is safe. He beat it out. The throw from Melendez over to Eddie Hakopian over at first had Derek Cease picked off halfway between first and second. As you get another look at it, Cease was off with first move as Eddie threw down to his brother Chris, who couldn't get the tag down. As Derek Cease continues to make things happen for Penn State, gets into scoring position with 2 outs, and the first pitch to Cohl Mercado is upstairs for ball 1.
I don't know which of the Penn State coaches teaches the sliding, but the Nittany Lions have had some pretty impressive slides in this series. Even the one that was out at home plate, which was Nate Voss, I mean, he made it a lot closer of a play than it probably should have been.
Penn State has been creative with the base running all season long, as Justin talked about. 96 stolen bases as a team for the Nittany Lions, and now 97. As Derek Cease picks up his 4th stolen base of the season. As Cohl Mercado takes strike 1 on the 2-0 pitch from Melendez. Melendez has now allowed 8 hits, 6 runs. Just 2 of those runs have been earned. 2 Maryland errors in this contest. 2-1 to Mercado, breaking ball, that'll miss high. And Penn State's bottom of the lineup has done plenty of damage, and you could say that both teams, throughout the course of this weekend series, the bottom of their lineups have been extremely effective between guys like Aiden Hill, Elijah Lambros, Parker Corbin for Maryland. As this one is sky left side. This is in on the infield grass, going over as the third baseman Martin battling the raindrops, but he makes the catch for the final out of this bottom half of the 5th. But Penn State gets 2 in this bottom half of the 5th inning, and they extend their lead to 6-2 as an RBI triple from Nate Voss and an RBI single from Derek Cease. The 7 and 8 hitters in the Penn State lineup will send us to the top half of the 6th, with the Nittany Lions leading it 6-2 from Medler Field at LeBron Park.
Due to time constraints, we now move ahead in the action.
Anthony Steele, who's out there for another inning of work, misses to Parker Corbin. Corbin today 0 for 2. Fielder's choice that ended the 4th. And a fly out that ended the 2nd. So he starts off the 7th. Then he takes that pitch for a strike. Started to go around, but stopped himself with the bright pink bat that we talked about earlier in the hands of the Loveland, Ohio native. Steele working his 2nd full inning of work. He came in at the end of the 5th as Corbin pulls back a bunt. He got that final out with 2 men in scoring position for the Terrapins. A big strikeout by Matt Van Ostenbridge led to the pitching change that brought in Steele against Jacob Orr, who has terrorized the Nittany Lions this weekend. 2-1, On the ground to short. Weingartner picks it up, gets it across. A little bit of a low throw, but not a problem for Jakonski. There's out number 1 in the top of the 7th as the rain looks to have intensified just a bit here at Medler Field.
The rain has certainly intensified. This is the hardest that it has fallen at any point during this game today.
This is the hardest it's fallen in a game this weekend. Not the hardest the rain's fallen at all this weekend, but attempting to play through it in a week that University Park has been drenched with rain in the entire Center County region. Most of it losing power back on Tuesday. Some still remain without power here on Sunday. As the first pitch to Braden Martin, who displayed his power yesterday with that home run in the top of the 11th. Count now 2-0. Already 2 walks to Braden Martin today, his 50th and 51st of the season. He's 5th, standing alone in 5th right now in Maryland all-time single-season record for walks. 2 away from 4th place as the count is 3-0, and you watch Anthony Steele kind of kick the dirt on the mound. As those are the areas you got to watch out for as the rain falls in almost every direction. We've seen it go from left to right to begin the contest, straight down, and now it's going right to left. Count 3-0 to Martin. That pitch is low. It's the second 4-pitch walk to Braden Martin today. 3rd time he's on base via the base on balls. And the leadoff runner on for the Terrapins, looking to mount a comeback just as they did in the final 3 innings yesterday after blowing the lead in the bottom of the 7th. Penn State tied it, took the lead in the bottom of the 8th, and then the Terrapins coming back in the 9th. Need to start chipping away.
Sorry, Justin. Martin is now tied for 2nd in the entire country in walks as this one drills the glass of the DV Sport.
And now that's a booth you won't see the window open with all that equipment in there. But that's one she should have had.
Those are some expensive computers, some expensive monitors that are in that booth.
You gotta have it.
Gotta have it.
Gotta have it. It was only hit off the bat at like 98 as this one hit well off the bat too. Chris Hakopian, a 2-run bomb to left field. His 10th homer of the season cuts the Terrapins deficit in half.
Chris Hakopian has been all over baseballs over the course of this weekend series, and that ball was absolutely belted. We saw him go back-to-back with his brother to kick off the game on Friday, and that one was absolutely crushed, and he knew it right off the bat as it landed right by that Kia.
The umpires coming together, and I think this game's going to go into delay as they are calling the Nittany Lions off the field. So Chris Hakopian, a 2-run blast, and both teams sent into their dugouts. So we officially resume at 5:05 p.m. An hour and 58 minutes since the last pitch. This one on the ground to Weingartner, strong throw across to Joe Jakonski, and there's now 2 away in the top of the 7th.
It's talking about what Mason Horwat has been able to do against the Maryland Terrapins over the course of now his 2-year Penn State career. And he pitched in 2 games against the Terps last year in College Park when a combined 7 scoreless innings, struck out a pair, and went 2 scoreless yesterday. So over the course of 9 innings worked, he's gone scoreless.
Porter unleashes this one in the left center field gap. Nice cutoff by Mercado, who goes down to the ground to stop it from getting to the wall. He holds Porter to a single. Not sure if that was the intent of Mercado to slide down, but whether it was or wasn't, it worked as that one left the bat of Hollis Porter at 107 miles per hour. And looking on replay, Mercado certainly meant to slide down and stop that ball, and he did so successfully.
Hollis Porter has some of the most lethal power of any hitter in the entire country. You saw it earlier with the 2-run homer.
Orr puts this one on the ground, left side, backhanded by Weingartner. His throw, not in time. Tough play from that shortstop Holtz, an infield single for Jacob Orr. And just like that, the Terrapins have the go-ahead run to the plate here in the top of the 7th.
Yeah, Orr is a guy that can get down the line fairly well. as Ryan Weingartner had to go deep into the hole, tried to bounce it to Joe Jakonski over at first instead of making a hero throw and trying to get it to Jakonski in the air. More and more infielders nowadays, if they have to make a difficult play, they'll just throw a bouncer over to first.
Talk about the lovely game of baseball. 107 miles per hour on the single from Porter Ors. That one went less than 80 miles per hour, just 78. A 30 mile per hour difference between the two as Alex Calarco takes a first pitch ball. He's back to the left side after batting previously from the right side with the two lefties that Penn State threw. Matt Van Ostenbridge went an inning, no hits, no runs, 2 walks and a strikeout. Anthony Steele followed with an inning and 2/3, 1 hit. It was a long ball that scored 2 runs, both earned. No strikeouts and a walk for Steele. The 1-1 from Horwat misses outside, and the count moves to 2-1. For Calarco, he's 0 for 3, 2 flyouts to center and a strikeout looking back in the 6th, which was last inning, although it was upwards of 2 hours ago. The 2-1, that pitch just outside according to Buzz Albert behind the plate, and the count is 3-1. Maryland looking for a Big Ten sweep, their first since they did it on the road against Indiana in 2023. That pitch does bend in for a strike from Horwat, and the count is full.
And Mason Horwat got to live down in the lower third of the zone. Can't leave anything hanging to any of these Maryland hitters.
Pitch misses, and the bases are now loaded with 2 away in the 7th. And they're loaded for Aiden Hill, who has had a great weekend at the plate, but stands in at 0 for 2 with a pair of strikeouts. Was hit by a pitch back in the 4th. So a quiet day from what he's been able to do this series, and Hill's looking to come through to either cut the deficit to 1, tie the game, or even give the Terrapins the lead coming out of the lengthy weather delay. Pitch bends in at 76 from Horwat, and the count 0-1 to the center fielder for the Terrapins, batting .263 on the year. Horwat's 0-1. That one sharply hit to Cease. He bobbles, recovers. Throw is on time to Jakonski, and Mason Horwat works into and out of trouble. 2 runs, 3 hits, no errors, and 3 left on base. You probably just stretched for upwards of an hour and a half, but it's time to do it again and do it with Joe Putnam here on Big Ten Plus. First pitch from Wren. That one on a line into left, and Jesse Jakonski's got his second hit of the ball game. A leadoff single here in the 7th.
Really good swing from Jesse Jakonski. Coming out of that delay, picking up first pitch fastball there from Wren. He just deposits it into left field. Wren coming off of a difficult outing in 2 2/3, gave up 6 hits, 5 runs last week against Nebraska. He's allowed at least 2 runs in each of his last 4 appearances, those against Illinois, Georgetown, Mount St. Mary's, and the one last week against the Cornhuskers.
Pitch almost clips Joe Jakonski, who backs out of the way of it. 0 for 2 today is Joe Jakonski, but it does have a walk and a stolen base. 2 runs scored for the first baseman for the Nittany Lions. His brother Jesse leads off first with no outs here in the bottom of the 7th. That pitch dribbled foul, first base line. Talk about Jesse Jakonski's single. We just saw 101 off the bat. Already the 3rd ball that's left a bat over 100 miles per hour since the resumption of play just a few minutes ago, less than 10 minutes ago. So the batters picking up where they left off in a weekend that's been full of offense. Check over on Jesse Jakonski. He scampers back in time. 5 stolen bases to his name this season. Joe Jakonski batting .227, 6 homers, and 30 driven in. 1-1 will miss up and away. And the count is 2-1. Runs 2-1. Pitch just low, according to home plate umpire Buzz Albert. The count 3-1. Again, a reminder of the umpire crew: Buzz Albert calling balls and strikes, Mike Martin at first base, Brian Marine at second, and Kyle Reese, the third base umpire, here in this contest that started at 1 o'clock. Here we sit at 5:15 p.m. on the East Coast. Joe Jakonski thought that was ball 4. Instead, it's strike 2, and the count is full.
Wren played 3 seasons at Marist. Appeared in 17 games for the Red Foxes a season ago.
Pickoff attempt unsuccessful that time from Wren.
Wren had a career year in 2024, working a 3.60 ERA in 50 innings pitched, allowed just 20 earned runs, struck out 48 in those 50 innings.
Runner takes off, payoff pitch, dribbled to first. Eddie Hakopian has it. He takes it himself, and it's a productive out there from Joe Jakonski, moving Jesse Jakonski up, and smart move by the Nittany Lions to have Jesse Jakonski in motion, avoids a double play.
Yeah, Penn State trying to go with the hit and run there with the Jakonski brothers as you take a look at the RBI triple from Nate Voss as that one hit the wall and scampered away from Jacob Orr out in left field. And as that ball just kept carrying away from him, Nate Voss was able to trot into third and slide into third with an RBI triple earlier in this one.
He's got a runner in scoring position in Jesse Jakonski. Voss, first pitch, swinging right down the third base line and stays fair past the outstretched Martin. Coming around to score is Jesse Jakonski. Heading to second is Voss. He'll stop there. It's an RBI double for Nate Voss, his second RBI of the contest. And Penn State leads it 7-4.
3 hits last night for Nate Voss, another 3-hit performance. Back-to-back days for Nate Voss with 3-hit days, and that one was roped down that third baseline. Another hard hit ball off the bat of Nate Voss, and another extra base hit for Penn State's catcher. And that feels like a big-time run after some momentum that Maryland had gathered in the top half of the 7th. It seemed as though they started to bring it out after that rain delay, the momentum that is. But Penn State's able to respond to the 2 spot that Maryland put up in the top half of the 7th with one of their own here in the bottom half. And it's been the bottom of this Penn State lineup. Nate Voss 3 for 4. And Derek Sisu stands in. He's got 2 hits as well.
Cease has been the story of the weekend. 2 for 3 today, 2 runs batted in, and a stolen base. Made the play to end the top of the inning. Despite a bobble, Cease stayed with it. Had 2 errors in yesterday's contest. A critical one down the stretch in the 9th inning. Took a short hop on him, but ruled an error anyway. And then had another E4 in the 11th. Didn't come around to harm the Nittany Lions. 1-0 here from Wren. Pitch in there for a strike. 81 that time on the off speed. The count is 1-1. Cease now 12 for 23 on the season with 4 runs batted in. Much of that damage coming over this series. 7-hit series for Derek Cease. Pitch lifted in the infield. Martin in foul territory has it for out number 2.
Wren just gets in on the hands of Derek Cease. Cease, as you can take a look at it here, just muscled that one in on the infield grass. Martin battling the sun that's now peaked out here at Miller Field at LeBron Park, but makes the catch in foul ground. Penn State unable to move Nate Voss up an additional 90 feet. As every run down the stretch incredibly valuable for both of these teams. Critical game here in this Sunday series finale.
Brings up Cohl Mercado. Mercado 0 for 3 today. Did reach on a fielder's choice and came around to score. And the 3-run 4th inning for the Nittany Lions. Scored 3 in the 4th, 2 in the 5th. Part of their come-from-behind effort after trailing 2-1 through the first 3.5 innings of the contest. Let up a 2-run bomb in that first inning to Hollis Porter. And after that, Nittany Lions posted 5 consecutive scoreless frames in terms of their pitching staff before Chris Hakopian had a 2-run home run of his own right before the lengthy delay here at Medler Field. 2-0 pitch to Cohl Mercado in there for strikes. Count moves to 2-1 to Penn State's center fielder. Jack Wren looking to find his way out of this inning and minimize the damage to just 1. 2-1. That one into left field. Coming on is Orr. He has to play it off the hop. They're going to send the runner around, and Voss will score Mercado in a rundown between first and second. Makes a move back to first base. They're chasing him, and Braden Martin over there at first base will apply the tag. But it's an RBI single for Cohl Mercado to end the 7th inning. Nittany Lions get their 2 runs back in the bottom of the 7th inning. They lead by 4 as we head to the 8th inning here on Big Ten Plus.
Perfectly clean. Went combined 4 innings against Southern Cal over 2 games. Did not allow a run. Went 2 innings in the first game against the Boilermakers.
First pitch to Hakopian on the ground and into left field. Chris Hakopian continues his impressive and stellar weekend at the plate. His 2nd hit of the game, 4th time he's been on.
Second hit today, as you mentioned, Justin. And this is a guy that has 12 hits over the course of the last 2 seasons against Penn State. He's 12 for 23 over 2024 and now 2025 against this Nittany Lions team. Going 6 for 7 yesterday, 6 singles. Tied Chris Bubba Aline for a single-game program record.
First pitch to Eddie Hakopian, pulled into the zone by Nate Voss. First baseman for Maryland is 0 for 3, but had a sacrifice bunt that put 2 in a scoring position against Matt Van Ostenbridge, who got a big strikeout of Hollis Porter, and then Anthony Steele came in and got a ground out from Jacob Orr. That was back in the 5th inning, a potential turning point of the contest that the Nittany Lions swept by the wayside. Loosely ahead in the count, 0-2. No outs here in the top of the 9th inning on what has turned into a nice evening in University Park. The 0-2. That one flown right side, potentially playable for Jakonski. He gives it a look, and it's into the stands. So the count remains 0-2. I mentioned the time of yesterday's game, 4 hours and 11 minutes. By way of the delay, we've surpassed that by a couple minutes here today. The 0-2. This is low, although delay time doesn't count towards game time. But time at the ballpark the same for both teams.
Absolutely. These 2 teams have spent a lot of time here from Miller Field at Lebrano Park and still could have a lot more.
Eddie Hakopian looking to help a comeback effort. The 1-2 on the ground, left side and through, past the diving Weingartner and into Jesse Jakonski's glove out and left. Back-to-back singles from Chris and Eddie Hakopian. And the Terrapins are in business in the top of the 9th inning.
Back-to-back base hits for the Hakopian brothers as Will Andrews is now getting loose in that Penn State bullpen down the right side. He came in extra innings last night, got credited with the loss. But Hollis Porter is a guy that already has a 2-run home run back in the top of the 1st. He can change things quickly with one swing of the bat.
Hollis Porter, a 3-hit day, 3 for 4. The 2-run home run in the 1st, a single in the 4th, a strikeout in the 5th, and a single in the 7th. First pitch off the end of the bat, foul. Look at the way that Hollis Porter has destroyed the baseball today. That home run, 414 feet, 105 off the bat. His 4th inning single, 104 off the bat. And that 7th inning single was 107 off the bat against Mason Horwath. Time called here from Porter. He'll fix his arm guard. So Chris Hakopian off of 2nd, Eddie Hakopian off of 1st. Maryland looking for their first conference sweep since they did it on the road in 2023. Going to need a comeback effort like they had a night ago. As the count moves to 0-2. Loosely's fastball sitting right around 90. Looking for that elusive first out here in the top of the 9th. 0-2. Bounces up. And the count moves to a ball and 2 strikes.
Loosely ramping up the fastball velocity up to 93 that time, trying to get Hollis Porter to chase on a fastball lower third. We'll see Porter start to choke up on that bat just a touch.
Loosley looks back. Now the 1-2. Swing and a miss. He got him. Diamond Loosley with his first K of the contest. And it's a big first out here in the ninth.
Back-to-back fastballs from Diamond Loosley, changing the eye level with those two fastballs, and then pulls the string with the off-speed pitch with 2 strikes and the 1-2 count. Retires a very dangerous hitter, and Porter not out of the woods yet with what Jacob Orr has been doing with the bat this weekend. But it's a big first out from Loosley. Now the twin killing would end this one.
Jacob Orr 2 for 4 in this one. Pair of singles coming in the 4th and the 7th. Flew out and grounded out outside of those singles. 1-0 here from Loosley. Popped up right side. That's Cease retreating into the outfield grass. Porter coming in, and Cease will grab it in shallow right for out number 2. And the Nittany Lions are 1 out away from salvaging the series finale.
Good communication by Derek Cease, calling off Jack Porter in shallow right field. He had a route to that baseball the entire time. You see him be able to turn his body so he didn't have to make an over-the-shoulder catch. Sunglasses on top of his head. Didn't need him that time.
So Alex Calarco stands in the way of Penn State in its 13th conference win of the year. First pitch to Calarco. Flown to center field. Mercado went out. He sits under it, and he has it for out number 3. Penn State salvages the series finale. They beat Maryland in a lengthy contest, 8-4. And Nittany Lions improved to 13-4 in Big Ten play. Maryland falls to 8-16.
Penn State able to erase its 6-game conference losing streak as they pick up, as you mentioned, Justin, an 8-4 win over the Maryland Terrapins, and it was a Penn State offense powered by the lower third.